Welcome to the Surgical Research Academy, helping you to be a cut above the rest. Today we're going to look at some websites that are helpful for people who do research. Okay guys, so we're going to start off with websites that help you plan or do research. So in one of my first blog posts I talked about funding, and a great place to come and find different sources for funding is researchprofessional.com. I've done a quick search already here, which is I've just done that for surgery, and you can see if you look down that it's got a range of grants coming up with the rough closing date, so you can kind of figure out how much money is available for a research grant and when the deadline is. So this is quite cool. I've just put in a search for surgery, and you can see it's throwing up things like plastic surgery. It's throwing up education, orthopedic surgery, so it'll give you a pretty good idea. You can be a bit more specific. So for example, if you go for colorectal cancer, see what that throws up, pancreatic cancer to start with, then things like big funds like the NIHR commission calls. It does also identify American National Institute for Health deadlines, so if you are from the US, it's probably going to be helpful for you too. This next thing that I wanted to just flag to you was in one of my previous posts I talked about making sure that you do and write about research well. So freely available resource, and one of the best resources around on how to do a systematic review is the Cochrane handbook. It's essentially the gospel for systematic reviews. It's broken down really nicely here into how you can undertake each step of the review. I've just picked there things like inclusion criteria. It's quite long, but if you want to do things properly, it will give you a very good idea of what is out there. So that's if you're setting up your review. If you're wanting to write about a review or write a paper up, then actually the EQUATOR network is pretty good. So this is where you get all your guidelines for writing up different papers. You can see it covers everything from randomized trials, protocols, case reports. It's got everything there. So if you wanted to look at the guidelines for writing up an observational study, that's a STRO guideline, strengthening reporting and observational studies. And you can get the checklist here, which is a PDF. You can see it gives you the headlines of everything that you want to make sure you have addressed, and then you can just tick these off and submit it as an appendix to your paper. Now, if we wanted to, if you got something that's a little bit more specific than any of these, there are 480 reporting guidelines, some of which are incredibly specific reporting items for systematic reviews of acupuncture. I'm not sure how often that's going to be used compared to a more generic reporting thing, compared to an extension to randomized crossover trials. So you can see that's perhaps a bit more generalizable. So that's the reporting. Next thing is, you might, rather than writing up or preparing a paper, you might be looking at how you can, what papers are out there. So one of the great places to come is the Cochrane library. So Cochrane tell you how to do systematic reviews, and also have the Cochrane database of systematic reviews, which lists everything that's been registered, run through them in it. I put in just a quick and dirty search for appendicitis. You can see the kind of things it's throwing up here. So appendectomy versus antibiotic treatment for acute appendicitis. So we can have a look at that. Because it's in the Cochrane database, these are typically open access. You can see the PDF, and there's 3 different versions, which will come out as being full, which is many pages long. Standard, which basically just gives you headlines and a little bit of discussion, but misses out some of the big analyses, and summary, which is very basic and easy to see. But you can see that you can access many of these things here. So if you wanted to figure out what we know about a particular topic, I'd recommend that you came to the Cochrane library and just had a look around, see what there was in that area, so you don't duplicate it. The other thing you might want to do is, if you don't want to look for a systematic review on the topic, you might want to look for a paper. So you can come to the PubMed website. PubMed is essentially a search engine that searches the Medline database. So it's not a database on its own, it searches the Medline database. It's a way of searching it. It's fairly user-friendly. Again, I'm just going to put in a quick search here for appendicitis and run that. It's not how you would normally do a search, but it's just enough to sort of show the point. So if you go to PubMed and have a look around, it will give you some of the best matches up here. These look, looks like it might be a sort of narrative type review for clinicians, and then a few of the other popular recent more relevant papers. Then it'll give you everything that's got a keyword of appendicitis linked to it, and this is coming in most recent, so date order. The most recent thing is on the imaging of gastrointestinal tract perforations, and you can go down a long way to get to the bottom of that. You can see how it's that you get a lot more information on the right side of the search bar that can help you out. So you can see you're sorting by most recent. One thing that's interesting is that PubMed does show you the number of results by year. So you can see in 1974 it's indexed 234 items, and in 2019 so far it's indexed 775 items. So which actually is probably not that many for something that is quite a common condition, and you might anticipate there were perhaps more papers in the area. But that's interesting. It shows you that. It gives you an idea of what related searches people have done using your keywords, and there's different operators you can put in, which we won't go into today. PubMed also is linked to PubMed Central, which is sort of an open access repository of papers, particularly things that are funded by the National Institute for Health are indexed in there in their preprint form, and it will search through and pull many of the images from these through. So if we just click on that, see what that pulls up. Something from the PLOS One journal, and that looks like it's looking at different bacteria types in appendicitis. So it's pretty cool, I guess. So we will go back, and what else did we have down this side? Then give you an idea of titles which have your search term in. You can search for data. So it's you can get quite a lot of information, not just the papers that are there. Then I guess the other things that the last two websites I just want to recommend to you as research or people with an interest. One is ResearchGate. So it's halfway between Facebook and LinkedIn, but for researchers. You have to have an institutional email address to register with it, so like a university or a hospital official email, and you basically give it your details and you can add your papers to it. The page that I've got open here is the front page feed, so it will find papers that are suggested for you, which I'd be interested to see how they find this out, because this is something I've been searching outside of ResearchGate, I'm pretty sure. And then people that you follow, so other researchers you follow, it will tell you when they have a paper that is cited or when they've published a new paper. So you can see it's a paper about core outcomes in neonatology, so development of a core outcome set. It's a paper from Pritam, which it looks like a conference paper on factors associated with survival in gastric cancer. Cohort study here from 2000 on their gastric volumes over 14 years. So you can see there's the people you follow. It gives you a good idea of what everyone's up to, and it's quite a nice way of keeping up to date. The other thing that is quite cool here is that you can see questions that are being discussed, and some of them actually quite helpful. So I've definitely been bogged down in some of the discussions on here, particularly about I think I got stuck into something to do with sample sizes in surveys somewhere down here. So this is quite cool if you're looking for some help from other researchers. Sometimes people do devolve into just pure clinical discussion. It's not just doctors on here, it's engineers. It's not really the place for that, but it's quite cool. Other things you get to find out when you have a paper cited, or when someone recommends your paper. So if someone likes your paper, they can recommend it to other people. You can get messages from other people asking you for a copy of your preprints if you've uploaded them on here, or sometimes just communicating about a paper. And the other thing you can do is you set up a profile, obviously, 'cause it's like Facebook, and it gives you some random scores based on how many people read your papers, how many times you get cited, level of interest in your projects. The other thing that's quite cool is that it links you to a hospital department, and it tells you who the most cited person in your department is every week. So if you are super competitive, then it can be quite a fun thing from that point of view. And the last page that I think you should talk about, and I'll probably do a separate video on this at some point, is Twitter. So it's not just for political leaders to go on and tweet policy. It's for it's a great way to communicate quick ideas with people around the world. So this is from our Twitter feed, the Surgical Research Academy Twitter feed, and I've just done a quick search for hashtag colorectal research, which is the area I'm interested in. A lot of people use this to tag things that are relevant to, well, obviously research in colorectal surgery. See here a nice picture of a robotic TME resection of the rectum. Debbie Keller's tweeted a commentary on the low anterior resection syndrome paper that was published in Disease of the Colon and Rectum last week. Colorectal disease is tweeting some of its editor's choices and also some of its new papers. You do quite often get discussions with around the hashtags, talking about different types, talk about different papers or different ideas. So if you can find your relevant hashtag for your specialty or your area of interest, then that is quite a nice way to keep up to date. And the final website which I'd recommend to you is the Surgical Research website, Surgical Research Academy website, surgical-research.co.uk. So on this we've got basically the blog, which try and update every week or so with a bit of discussion or food for thought for people who do research. There's some links to useful things, so many of the websites I've mentioned in here, and yeah, hopefully you will find that useful. So thanks a lot for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please do make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons at the bottom to let me know, so I can keep making these. So thanks a lot.